All right. Good morning, everyone, and namaste. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in this world. We're super excited to invite you today to this wonderful panel. I think the first of its kind panel at the India conference at Harvard. Today, we're going to be talking about sports. In particular, we're going to be talking about Olympic sports. Today, over the next 1 hour, we will be dividing the conversation, and we'll be led by our moderator, who will be leading the conversation and asking our panelists questions. So without further ado, let me just quickly introduce. We have Abhinav Bindra, who's India's first individual Olympic gold medalist and the founder of the Abhinav Bindra Foundation Trust, who has joined us today as a panelist. Welcome, Abhinavji. Thank you for joining us. At the same time, we also have Neelam Babardesai. Neelam is a national level gymnast and founded a gymnastics institute, which trains national level gymnasts across the year. At the same time, she's the head of sports at Tata Trust, working on grassroots development, at the same time helping people really find their footing in the world through sporting and sporting education. We also joined by two other panelists. Avika, you want to quickly introduce? I think, Avika, you're on mute.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Let me introduce two other stars on our panel today. We have Sharad Kumar. He's an Indian para high jumper and a bronze medalist at the Tokyo Paralympics. Sharad is also a two-time Asian Para Games gold medalist and a two-time World Para Athletics champion. Welcome, Sharad. This brings me to our moderator for today, someone who's been my role model, Somdev Devvarman. Somdev is one of the best tennis players India's ever had, a Padma Shri awardee, an Arjuna awardee, NCAA Tennis Hall of Fame inductee, gold medalist, Asian Games gold medalist, Commonwealth Games. Welcome, Somdev.
Thank you.
Over to you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you for a very nice introduction, and thank you to all the panel for joining us. I'm really excited about this because at the end of the day, it's just nice to chat about sports, talk something productive, and see what we can do to actually get better. And because at the end of the day, that is the essence of sport. So, Abhinav, thank you so much for joining us. Sharad, you as well. I'm very excited to talk to you. And Neelam, thank you so much for joining us. And guys, thank you once again for having me as a moderator. It's really an honor. Now, before we get into anything, I think one of the things that all of us as sports lovers of the country, we always talk about is, we try and see how other sporting countries are, why are other countries sporting nations? So, Abhinav, the first question I'd like to kind of point out to you, what is a sporting nation?
Well, I think sport goes beyond where you stand on the medals tally of an Olympics or of a sporting discipline. Sport really has to be a part and parcel of a country's culture, because the values that sport imbibes, no other profession in the world can do. Sport teaches you a little bit about winning, but it teaches you how to lose. Sport teaches you teamwork. Sport teaches you how to respect the rules. Sport teaches you how to respect others, how to respect your competitors. Sport teaches you how to have a goal and how to, achieve a goal. Sport teaches you a lot about conflict, about dealing with conflicts. So I believe it is about imbibing a culture for sport, which I think will define you as a sporting country. We're all after economic success in the world, and it's very interesting to note that the greatest economies of the world also happen to be global sporting superpowers. And I do believe that there is a direct connection there, and I do believe sport has had a very important role to play on why they've actually ended up becoming these great economies. Because as young people, as young successful people, whether it be in business or other fields, these people played sport, and I do believe they imbibed certain values and a certain work ethic, which is so unique to sport, which has helped in contributing to making these nations great economies. So I believe it is defining a A sporting nation is all about having sport as part and parcel of a culture, to play sport. Yes, of course, to win medals and to win sporting competitions, but to play sport for the sheer joy of playing sport.
Wow, thank you, Abhinav. That was insightful. Now, Neelam, what do you think are the important aspects that we as a country need to focus on to actually become a better sporting nation?
Well, so just to add on Abhinav's points, which we said that, yeah, it has to be a way of life. When we say way of life or a sporting culture, what exactly do we mean by that? It's that we just get together as we get together to celebrate festivals. So sports, getting together to play sports as a celebration or just to have the joy of it is what I think is most important thing that we need to focus upon. Winning medals or achievement or successes will be a byproduct, I feel, of whatever, when we have everyone getting together and playing, as we say, developing, and that's the grassroots aspects of it, where we have pockets, where very pockets in the country where sport is a culture. May it be hockey in Jharkhand or Odisha, it is football in the northeast, or your wrestling in Haryana and the south, you have Karnataka, you have kabaddi. So many places where they gather to just enjoy participation in sports, and that is the way of life, I mean, as we call it, which needs to be encouraged. For that to happen, yes, you have certain aspects of it, which is infrastructure, programs, coaches, which needs to be there. But I think most important also is to focus on that pyramid. So when we have grassroots, where we really do not be just focusing only that, I need infrastructure to do this. There is a lot of other things which can be done in whatever limited space you have. There has to be a will. Just whatever. Let me see what we can do in the limited space that we have. We need passionate people. We need children who are motivated. We need parents who are willing to send children there and just get together and play. So if we can really focus on the grassroots aspects of it and provide opportunities to children to play, and show them a pathway where they can succeed, which I think many of the Olympians today have done. They have showed that yes, you can win there and you can get success and you can make a career out of it, thanks to people like Abhinav, who've really shown that pathway, and the many more. So I think that could be the way to focus on.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think when you said opportunities, I think creating those opportunities for people that don't have those opportunities to play sport, very important indeed. I completely agree. And also just to hear Abhinav, a gold medalist, come out and say it's not just all about medals. I think that's also something that, especially, it's hard not to focus on winning. It's hard not to focus only on the medals. But when you do have the only, gold medalist over here, well, not the only now, the second one, of course, after Neeraj. Now, we talked about opportunity. Now, Sharad, we've often heard that, we do need to find a way to link education and sports. So can you talk to me a little bit about, your experience on the same, your thoughts on the same, and what do you think would be an ideal mix of the two?
See, firstly, like for me, it came right from the start. Like education was, see, when we're physically challenged people, our parents always think that education is the first way to get us a stable life. So I was sent to a school, particularly where education was the prime goal, but not knowing my parents, actually that school provided me such a start for sports was that if I had 6 hours in the classroom, it was compulsory for me to be 6 hours on the field, irrespective to whether I could play the game or not. If I did not do any of one of them, I was actually sent back home. And me only being a physically challenged boy out there, they still did not make any exception for me. And I saw like the thing, how sports actually helped, and with education, the thing I met at one of the Go Sports Foundation programs where Abhinav sir was there, and also another person from Italy. He was also there, Nico. I'm forgetting Nicolo, I think he was a shooter too. So that person also mentioned how he went through, like, to win a medal through his education. He was an engineer, how he made his own weapon, and then how he realized that how inculcating education to sports made him get a better result. And for me, like, sports, I realized like when you're studying and you have a little time out and you go and do your sports, you can concentrate either on one of them, whichever is your field. If for my friends who have cracked the UPSC exams, they went and played basketball at a period of time. Actually, they did very well and got herself a good job in the government. And for me, I did education to learn more out of the books which I was reading, to motivate me, give me new ideas how to do sports. So it was like nicely blending in there. I always focus, see, at a point I felt that it was how sports has to be inculcated as something to enjoy. But also I realized that sports is something which has to be inculcated as a habit, to make, like, the definition has to be changed. That sports is not just to have a good life. It is something like a vaccine we take at a young age, like a tuberculosis or anything. Sports is something that has to be brought to us so that in the later stages of life, we have a healthy life. It is, the whole definition has to change. That it's just not supposed to be, okay, you're doing sports because you love it. You have to maybe change the narrative, where we use, like, insurance company is something which we use for health. We have to use the sports now as an insurance company for health.
Yeah,
it's something
I
like
mean,
that.
That's a really good way of putting it. I think just to have it as a way of life, and also to look at it as something that will give you dividends, I guess, later on in life as well. And for everybody listening, I mean, Sharad is a bronze medalist at Tokyo 2020 in the high jump. So listening to words from you, and honestly, just feeling the kind of vibe that you're giving out over here, the positivity, especially in an early morning, it's a perfect way to start the week. So thanks a lot for that, Sharad. Abhinav, just coming back to you. So in your opinion, you said it's a lot more about just winning medals. You also said, I mean, in a way, sports can help build a country up. So how do you think sports can help build a community? And subsequently, how do you think a country could benefit from sporting excellence? How do you think it's correlated?
Well, before I get to your point on your question, I'd just like to second what Sharad just said, and the role and the importance of combining and finding a balance between sport and education. I think that is one of the most critical things going forward. I think as elite athletes, I think it's very important to also have a degree of balance in life. And I think education is a very important aspect of that. It, of course, helps you prepare for your life after sport and gives you another career option in the long run. But more importantly, it creates a degree of balance which most elite athletes lose at one point of time in their sporting careers. And at the end of the day, it's a very limiting factor. When you become very single-minded and just do one thing obsessively, you may achieve goals, you may achieve your goals, but it is certainly a limiting factor when you want to achieve your fullest potential. So going forward in this country, at least, where participation in sport is only increasing, more and more younger people are getting involved in sport. It is very, very important for us, for the system, to create a dual career pathway for our athletes, because it will help them post their sporting careers. But I am a firm believer it will also, that balance that they have will help them perform better on the field of play when pressure is high. My best times in my sporting career, or my best performances in my sporting career, came when I was a student athlete in the US. And I'm sure with you having experienced Somdev in the NCAA, you would attest to the fact that it is that balance is something which is very important. On your question on how sport can help develop a nation, I think sport can contribute to achieving a lot of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. I think there are about 13 SDGs where sport can directly contribute and is contributing, whether it be fostering gender equality and helping giving opportunities to young girls across the country to play sport, whether it be the health benefits that sport brings out. But again, to me, I'll just go back to my first answer. It is the values that sport will help build, and it is those Olympic values which I stand for. It is about having friendship. It is about having respect, and it is about chasing excellence. And I think there's no better way than sport to build that unity in diversity and bring the country together. So I believe sport has a very, very important role to play, and specifically to India, because we are a very young country, and all these young people need to imbibe these values going forward.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more. Sporting values. I think one of my favorite stories when it comes to talking about, how it's actually had direct impact on a community is, I'm from Chennai, so I have seen the surfing culture just grow in Chennai over the last, decade and a half, and the amount of impact it's had on just this tiny village in Kovalam in Chennai, for me, is completely eye-opening. Obviously, economically, but also, culturally, you start seeing so many young boys and girls from the village surfing, stand-up paddling. You start seeing them, take part in competitions. A lot of these people have become trainers, and it's just a nice vibe to see the direct impact that sport can have. Now, Abhinav, you did talk about gender equality, and Neelam, that kind of leads me nicely to my next question to you. Can you talk to me about what you think is the importance and the benefits of growing women's sport in India?
I think foremost is developing confidence, because if we provide opportunities to girls, and we see women everywhere, they are all leaders in all teams, they in all walks of life in India. If you see, even sports, we have seen so many of them bringing accolades for the nation. So there's no dearth of talent, there is no dearth of motivation there to excel. It's a question of providing opportunities to them so that they can perform and succeed. That's number one. It's also to break a lot of social barriers. They can definitely. I mean, we've always thought about, segregating. Let the girls play separately, boys play separately. But instead of that, if you think at a younger age, if they're all allowed to play together, there's so much that we can learn from each other. The most important aspects being, which Abhinav also spoke about, the Olympic values of friendship and respect for each other. I mean, if we can have girls and boys playing together, you think about the tremendous amount of respect and friendship that they can all bring, and it can, all those evils, social evils there, which are against women. It's a wonderful way to break them, not talking about them, but putting it positively. That it's normal to play together. It's normal to mingle and learn from each other. And there's so much. Everyone had their own strengths, right? Learning from each other will help foster that respect to each other. So using these as themes, to encourage girls and boys to play together at a young age, where they understand each one's physical limitations as well as strengths, and work with each other to develop them together, can be an excellent way to foster respect or confidence in women in all aspects of life. There are many other important skills which can be developed in women through sports. Awareness about menstrual hygiene, a lot of other issues related to women can be spoken about openly and taught to them through the means of sport. And when we always say, right, you educate a woman and you're educating the entire family. That's the other advantage that these values can help. Because that one girl, I mean, and we have so many cases where we work in and the tribal villages, rural villages of the country, where when we engage girls and we help them understand, talk about these issues, understand their strengths, and they go back and share the same with their families and with the community as a whole. It just changes the entire perspective, and that's how we can help develop those communities and change the social network that we currently have. So
yeah, absolutely. And would you say that having champions such as the ones we've seen from India with the PV Sindhus, the Mary Coms, the Fogart sisters, Sania Mirzas, Do you think it is rapidly changing, and you think that we are starting to break the stereotypes of girls playing sports as well?
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. I think I mean, the most important aspect of having those or applauding these achievements or having those success is the motivation. Is that well, it is something which is viable. It brings you success. It brings you fame. It can bring you. It is especially for the children. I would say in the remotest of villages and of the country, it could be a way to change their lives forever. So that can be one of the reasons which can help motivate parents to send children to such programs or to such sports. So I would say just one of the factors. There could be many more, but it definitely helps to have those women on the top of the podium, which brings in a very different inspiration to the children or girls playing there in the grassroots.
Yeah, I totally agree. And of course, not to leave out, Mirabai Chanu, Deepa Karmakar, so many other women as well that have done well.
Absolutely.
Now, the next question, Sharad, I will start with you, but obviously the other guests, you're more than welcome to give your opinions as well. Now, when we talk about sports in India, one of the things that undoubtedly comes up in the conversation is infrastructure or the lack of it. Now, how do you think that the infrastructure currently is, especially if we want to be a sporting superpower? And what are the things, Sharad, in your experiences, because you've also trained abroad, you've trained in India, can you talk a little bit about your experience with infrastructure and where you think specifically we need to improve on?
I've trained in the US, and then I've trained in Soviet, means Ukraine also. So in the US, I realized that they had a lot of equipments and modern techniques, and everything was there. And in Ukraine, they did not have anything as such. The gymnasium it was blank. So most of the time, like, they were using the body weight to do the trainings. And also, I personally, I see whenever I go to any place as infrastructure, I see that is it disabled friendly? Can it be wheelchair accessible? Can the blind people go through? So I see these things. And in India, it's not just about sporting, just the infrastructure changing first for me. It has to be the whole perspective of development changing around disabled friendly. So in that manner, I see like whatever I relate to has to be able to fit in for the Paralympic athletes. I see it that way. And initially, even I had a thing that, most of the time we need infrastructure, like the growth, like there should be good stadiums, good equipments. But then when I went to Ukraine, I learned it a different way. Like anything could be just made into an equipment. Like I always try to give an excuse to my coach that, coach, I think today we don't have these equipment with us. So he always made something out of natural things, maybe some stone he took, a normal rope. I realized that those people out there, everything which we waste, they do not waste that. They take it and keep it in the garage. They know that someday or the other it can come as a handy use for some equipment. So I learned it that way, that we need to first try to make a way out ourselves. See, we cannot provide all the equipments or resources to 1.3 billion people at a time. We have to look at methods to how to train ourselves in a different way. And it's not that the government is not doing something to change the infrastructure. It is doing, and with gradually it is improving. When I see myself and the Paralympics, we are going basically parallel, like Paralympics of India, Paralympic Committee of India and me. It was in a very bad stage initially. There was nobody recognizing us. Nobody was wanting to even fund us. Now there's so many of them coming to help us, give us scholarships, programs, everything is coming. And it's improving in its own pace. But we as an athlete, if we want to change the whole perspective, we first need to stop giving the excuses of infrastructure first. Because in athletics, I can say that there are many possible ways to keep yourself into training zones, because that is what I learned in Ukraine, that we do not just need a proper equipment. It is like we need to get out of the room to start the thing first. And I think that at least in India, we have reached a situation now that if you're fitting yourselves in a particular zone level or state level, then you are now being provided with equipments, nutritions that has started beginning to come in now. So I think we need to first begin the things, and the gradual, see, India is just a young nation when you see compared to the others which are winning the top 10 medals. They are in such a way that they already had the basic economics settled first. We are in a prime where we are developing our economy. So it will take some time to get in, but that is not what we have an excuse to be left behind when we are going on a race for a medal. So we have to at least be in that. And I'm proud to say that we, as a Paralympic nation, India is in its position to be in the top 10 competing nations. We've already been there, not keeping considerate how the infrastructure is. It's just on the will of the athletes. Now we are doing that.
I can't agree with you more. I love that. I absolutely love that answer because, I mean, first of all, 19 medals, shattered every other previous Olympic tally. And I think I really liked what you said about, yes, the infrastructure does need to get better, but that being said, we don't need to make excuses. The first thing is to get out of your comfort zone and make the best of whatever you have around you. And with that, I 100% agree. In fact, that's also something that I always try and tell the tennis players. If you want to go out and get fitter, go out and get fitter. You don't need world-class, I mean, it helps, but you can also get fitter with what you have. Now, Abhinav, one of the things, I know that you've obviously been involved in so many different things, with your training centers, but also of late, I've been reading a little bit about the Abhinav Bindra Foundation Trust. And I'd love to hear it from the horse's mouth exactly, what you have in mind and, how are you going about achieving it?
We have three pillars of our work. The first pillar is that of intervention, where we have two programs running in parallel. One is a program called the STEAM Scholarship Program, where we have about 70 athletes under our roster between the age of 12 and 17 mostly. STEAM standing for science, technology, engineering, analytics, and medicine. And we try and incorporate all those elements into grassroots training, leveraging on our network of centers built across the country, which really has, I have to say, quite a lot of cutting edge technology. I'm a great believer in the power of science and then on how to leverage on science for developing athletic talent, not just at the elite level, but also at the grassroots level, to make sure that they set a strong foundation growing up, because if you don't have a strong foundation at the end of the day, at the elite level, that is a very limiting factor as well. The second program under intervention is a program called Sport for Her. It is a program specifically designed for the female athlete, where we built a platform which empowers female athlete participation, but also empowers them with knowledge and specific knowledge which is needed for female athletes to really perform well in sport. The second element of what we do is education. We talked a little bit about building infrastructure and the importance of it just now, but that is an easy, quick fix, right? I mean, you need money and you can build stadiums and you can buy the equipment from all parts of the world. So it's not that complex. What is equally important is to build the ecosystem that surrounds the athlete in India. As we develop in sport in India, we cannot just rely on foreign expertise to come in here and there and help us. We need to build our own. And there's no reason why we can't build our own world-class coaches or physios or trainers, etc. So in a humble attempt, we've set up a sports medicine and research institute where we have started giving out degrees in physiotherapy and sports science to start with. We've got a great faculty from all across the world helping develop this course so that it is up to global best practice. The second element of education, and that is a program which Neelam also attended, is an attempt to work on leadership and governance in sport. That again has been a very limiting factor in our country's history, the lack of governance of our high quality governance of sport. So in partnership with the ELMS Foundation and the University of Loughborough, which is ranked the world's best sporting university, we set up a leadership program which has 15 modules delivered online to really work on governance aspects of sport and how leaders in sports, administrators in sport can work towards building high performance sporting environments. The third and last element of education is athlete mental health. It's a subject I have worked very closely with the International Olympic Committee. I sit on their working group, and we're trying to bring all those resources into the ecosystem in India, really helping organizations and structures set psychologically safe environments for athletes to participate and compete in sport. It's a very, very important element going forward. The third and the last pillar of our work is my most important work, is using the power of sport for societal good. Our first program was with my friend Nicolo Campriani, who Sharad referred to earlier. We trained 3 refugees to become athletes. Recently, we set up a program which is based in Lausanne in Switzerland. Very happy to tell you that 2 of those, all 3 refugees became athletes, but 2 of those athletes then actually went and competed at the Tokyo Olympics. And that was a very heartwarming project, because for all their life, these people had one identity, that they are called they were refugees. Everybody referred them to be as refugees. And now at least 2 of them proudly call themselves Olympians. The last project, what we've undertaken is the values-driven project, which is bringing the Olympic value education program into India. Again, trying to imbibe the values of sport to our young country, to young students. So taking this program to schools, to different states, which I believe is a very, very important role, which will have a very important role in the overall development of sport in this country, but also how sport can really help in the whole process of nation building. So that's a little bit of what we do. It's very me.
I think it's a little bit more than a little bit, Abhinav. I mean, that sounds very comprehensive. I mean, sounds like you've put a lot, and your team has put a lot of thought into it, and it sounds like something that not just this country, but a lot of people can use as a model. Because, I mean, how do you find the energy? Because it sounds like you guys are really doing a lot. And what's the biggest reward for you?
I couldn't hear you so well, but I think you asked me how I find the energy. It's just about devoting time to it. It's something I'm passionate about. I've received so much in my life through sport, and I think it is my moral duty to give back to society and give back to sport. So I think 60% of my life's time is used or focused towards building the foundation, finding resources to run the foundation, which is in itself a rather large challenge in this country, but we're at it. And just as sport taught me to be persistent and determined, I am determined to make this work.
Thank you, Abhinav. Thank you. That's great, and good luck for that, honestly. Now, you talked about giving back. So Neelam, I just wanted to bring this up now. Under the new Companies Act in 2013, it is mandatory for certain classes of companies operating in India, including branches and project offices of foreign companies, to spend at least 2% of their 3-year average annual net profits towards CSR, so corporate social responsibility activities. Now, given your position at the Tata Trust, what is the role of corporations in promoting sports culture in India, and how do you pick these projects?
I will initially start with saying what we have done, and then probably go on to what the other companies also can do, a suggestion maybe. That's about it. Firstly, though Tata Trust is not really CSR money, it is the private, the funding of the trust, of the Tata families. So a little different. However, said, I think especially the way the regions where we work, wherever our offices are, or wherever the other companies have their offices there. Many of them are doing a lot of work to develop or to impact or improve the lives of the people there. They need to start looking at education, at education and sports as something common. There are many people out there working in education. Unfortunately, we have always kept education and sports separate, right from the ministry, right to then. That's been kind of embedded in the minds of the people, which needs to change, as we've all been speaking about in this panel, where it has to be a part of it. If we start looking at it as a part of it, we can have part of sports, as we call it, physical literacy, being embedded in the school itself as a part of education, which is a mandatory and which is given to every child. Just as we are working so hard on making them literate, we also have to work hard on making them physically literate so that they can start having the fundamental movements to participate in sports there. So that's one of the most important things which can happen, and which, as we say, many people, many companies out there working in education, everybody just imbibes that component in there. We are already having a massive number of talent being generated by just giving them the basics of, or training them on the basics and fundamentals of sports there, which again does not require a lot of infrastructure, which does not need big grounds and stadiums and equipment and stuff. As Sharad also rightly pointed out, we just use what is there. Something called as simple as an active playground. Just having whatever place you have, just put some tires, tie up a rope to a tree, just have some planks there, and the kids will learn and play on their own as one. And having some kind of structure within the schools, which can help them cultivate those movements a little bit more. So that's where we've started, as we say, as a trust. We've started working on physical literacy as an integral part of education, working with the government schools wherever we are, right in the rural tribal regions, training, when we are doing this, the second and most important thing is education, as even Abhinav pointed out. So education of trainers as well as teachers. So when we say physical literacy, it has to be who delivers it. You don't need a knowledgeable athlete or a BPEd guy to deliver sports in a primary school. It can be done by a teacher. So it's just about creating that awareness, giving some workshops to them, giving them some tools which can help them deliver these activities as an in-school program there. So teacher education to teach physical literacy. Second is coach education. When we're talking about grassroots programs, when we're talking about having those programs in the remote villages where, again, we don't need a very experienced or an NIS certified or any great coach there. So what we've done is, wherever we are working, we've looked at the players who have been from the region, the youth who's been there, who likes to play, the passion which drives us all together. And we've trained them, we've given them education, and through technically qualified partners. Example, with the Mizoram badminton, it has been Pulela Gopichan, who's our technical partner. And we have trained the local coaches. I wouldn't say coaches, they were actually players from the region. We've trained them to be coaches. In Jharkhand and Odisha, the players from the villages, we've partnered with Babardesai Foundation from Netherlands, and again train them so that they can be coaches and can continue and can teach children in those remote places, which makes it a little bit more sustainable. Because that's way, even if tomorrow we move out, the training which we have given them continues, and they can continue to train the children on going ahead. So, so coach education has always been a part of an integral part of all our programs everywhere. And the last I would say is, if I just look at sports development in three different layers as a pyramid, with the grassroots at the bottom, competitive training, and then the elite, if we talk about it. It's not possible for everyone to be there at all levels. And I think that's what we all need to understand, what our strengths are, where we want to be. But it's also important to connect those paths, connect those dots. I mean, and look at in the ecosystem and see who is doing the other aspects and work with them. If I'm doing a grassroots program somewhere, I also have to see who's training competitive sports there, and then ensure that the talent from my program is getting an opportunity to get trained or go to the next level in that region, which is what can create a pathway not just for the children but also for the coaches. So that's what at the trust we have done till now, working at the grassroots. In fact, 2 of our programs, we're working at all 3 levels. The hockey program in Jamshedpur and Odisha, we have a grassroots program, we have a competitive training program, And we also support an elite program, elite coaching program, which is a residential academy in partnership with Tata Steel, where the best of the talent from the grassroots is put in a residential setup. And they have given the best of accommodation, training, education, plus sports science, along with Abhinav's sports science and technology there in Odisha, where we can help them be better athletes there using sports science technology. So I would urge other companies also to try and look at similar opportunities, find out where they are. And again, not possible to do everything, I understand. Just try and link with the ecosystem around you so that the pathway is created, which can really, really help, create those motivations, create those champions from the region, which will again keep the ball rolling, and you can keep getting young kids into the program in the future.
Thank you. Thank you for that comprehensive answer. Very insightful indeed. Now, Sharad, we have talked a little bit. I mean, Neelam did touch up on the importance of getting your coaches to actually get better as well. Now, this is something obviously that you have faced, because we did mention earlier you did train in Ukraine, you did train in the States as well. Now, in your experience, what can we actually do to, this is a two-part question. One is, how do we help the current crop of coaches to actually get better? And then we talked about having a pathway for the competitive to get to the elite. Now, for somebody like you, who has been at the elite level of sport, and who has competed at the biggest events, what do you think we need to do to get our coaches to that level? Because I think Abhinav also mentioned it's not sustainable to keep hiring foreign coaches. We do need to better our coaching system as well.
See, I'm right now working in Sports Authority of India as a coach myself. So I can say this, that we need to use the athletes who love sports, particularly, as a passion to start teaching sports. So what has happened, I'm realizing that most of them, like one of the person in the questions also said, that we need sports quota to get jobs. And everybody trying to fill in those jobs are actually not from sports background. They are from different backgrounds. Someone's coming from arts background, someone's coming from different educational backgrounds. And they're just trying to make a career out of it, even though they don't like it. They are doing it because they want to have a source of income or a job at the government level or certain things like that. We need to induct people who really have the passion. So I'm right now working here inside, but if as a good athlete, even if I was not working as a coach, I'm supposed to carry the baton further to other young kids to teach them what sports is. And I think that is real coach. A coach is supposed to be like a teacher who guides you from the very start, not just like, because see, if I was in a boarding school, my teachers were like my parents who knew what I was and how I was supposed to choose my further careers or whatever my directions were supposed to be. In that manner, even a coach who has the idea of sports, everybody is now taking sports in such a way that they need to perform at the elite level. They want to come in and just make a career out of it, get rewards, recognitions and everything. But that is not the whole point of it. See, when we talk about sporting nations, how things are getting better or developing, I like Ukraine as a country doing so well for sports. They don't have much medals in most of the places, but I realize one thing, that every kid, they love sports as naturally. It comes naturally to them. They want to do something very creational. They just want to keep themselves into some activities. And also we need to believe that the place which I was born in, my parents, the reason they made me go to Darjeeling was that in Bihar, there is a notorious crime zone. So empty mind is devil's workshop, right? So of course you have to keep them occupied doing something. You have to tell them that sports is actually a way to get away from wrong things also. So we need coaches and teachers. Like, coach is supposed to be a teacher firstly at a young stage, from 1 to 15 years old. That coach is not supposed to get the kids into some professional training. Right now I'm seeing, I will not name some athletes, they're at just 10, 11 years old, and they're doing all six-pack abs, they're changing their bodies, they're deforming into a different way. And that's not necessarily a good coaching. That is not something that has to come. You have to let sports come to you in a different manner that a person likes it. And when you perform at elite level, it's not just your hard work there. It is the passion that you have. And that's what the coaches need to realize, that you cannot force someone to be just, yeah, we need to win this medal and this is the only way to do it. And we should not just change that. You have to let them enjoy the game. And if they enjoy the game with the passion of it, they will win that medal. But our coaches are so determined that I need to get recruited, I need to get rewards, I need to get names coming everywhere. So they try to fix in different types of training methods, different types of shortcuts. All these things are creating the problem. And also the thing is, like, someone's a high jump. So like an athlete's also doing a mistake here. So I'm a high jump, I win a medal. So I take someone else's name that he's become my coach. But the real coach who's trained me doesn't get the calibration, because we try to keep it within our own environment. That has to be changed. We have to leave the works of the professional to the real good professional people, not anybody else, just because we have attained something. We have to now see them as actually a source of helping us. We don't want them, after we become someone, we want to say, okay, this person is a coach. We have to change the whole interface of it.
I totally agree with you. Sharad. I think, we talk so much about scouting talent just in athletes. I think it, needs to go a step further. Scout talent in any place where they can be useful. Obviously, coaching is one of them. Now, time does fly when we're having fun. I can't believe it's been 45 minutes already. So it is time for the audience Q&A. Now, Abhinav, I'm going to come to you first, because you did talk about the importance of focus on, uplifting women in sports with the Abhinav Bindra Foundation Trust. Now, despite their huge contribution to the medal tally, female athletes still face a huge pay discrepancy. What do you think we can do to change that?
Well, pay discrepancy in professional sports such as yours, Somdev. So I think you are, I don't know, in tennis or something. I mean, I think at the Olympic level, or, at the state awards and national awards, I think it is pretty much at the same level. I don't know how it works in professional sport now. There used to be a discrepancy, but now is it already at the same level? Men and women have the same amount of awards. Is that the case now?
I think in awards it is. I think professional tennis is actually one of the first sports that does give out equal prize money at the Grand Slam level, at least, which is something that I'm very proud of. But not just that, even at let's say at the local level, let's say track meets, you get X amount. Men do tend to get a little bit higher than the women. How do you think we can tackle a problem? Well,
I think it is about continuous advocacy towards getting this gender equality thing going. And again, there I believe that the Olympic world is really taking a leadership role in defining this. For example, not at the pay level, but you would be very happy to know that the Paris Olympic Games will have complete 100% gender parity, for example. So an equal amount of women, an equal amount of men, same amount of opportunities, same amount of events. So that is a very, very big sign and a big development that has happened towards fostering gender equality. I know sports all across the whole Olympic program who've had to rejig a lot of their events in order to achieve this parity. So, of course, one thing will lead to the other, but I am quite sure that sport will lead this. And we are on that path to achieving complete equality in all spheres, whether it is participation, whether it is opportunities, whether it be award money. So we are on that path, and I do believe that in the times to come that will happen.
Yeah, I hope so. I certainly hope so. And I will say this: I do think that while many parts of society, it is unfortunately, it is in a sense a man's world. I am very proud to say that I hope sports does lead the way to equality, like you did say. Neelam, another question from the audience. What are the first steps that different stakeholders can take to integrate sports better into our existing education curriculum? Anything specific that you would like to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. As I said, firstly, I think we need to look at development of sports in a similar way as we look at education. I mean, we have elementary school, we have high school, we have college, we have graduation, right? So we have a very well-defined structure in education. Let's look at sports in the same way. So I say, okay, what is sports? If I have to get, if my elite level is at the top, then at the bottom, at the elementary, I have physical literacy. So can we inculcate physical literacy curriculum in our education itself as our at the elementary level, which I was talking about, where which are activities which can be conducted in a classroom or in a small space, whatever space available in whatever school that we have, with limited or no equipment for that matter. I mean, I can give an example. If I have to do toss and catch as a simple skill which I have to develop to improve hand-eye coordination, I don't need a ball. I can just make a ball out of a handkerchief, which we've done it so many, or just crumple up a piece of paper and use it as a ball and teach that skill, which can be done in any school without any equipment. So using those simple tools and activities, integrate physical literacy as a part of the elementary school curriculum. Which again train the teachers to teach, which can be taught to them to take in school itself. Then when we move on, so in the higher secondary school, when we say secondary school, it's about 6 to 10 standard. That's where we have to give them the opportunity to engage in multiple sports, understand what the sports are, and that could be, of course, when we say sports, it could be dependent upon infrastructure, what is available in that region, in that school. That is what I think it's important to understand the local context there and say that, okay, let's use this sport as a means to give opportunity. So no point in saying that, okay, I'm going to do football everywhere, or I'm going to do cricket everywhere, or I'm going to do X everywhere, boxing everywhere. That doesn't work. Look at what you have in the school in that state, and every state will have certain nuances which we can use as a sport to develop in that region. So things like kho, kabaddi, which does not really require any great infrastructure or equipment. Athletics, for that matter. I mean, most important. I mean, in Uttarakhand or any of these hilly regions, you can see athletes training themselves, as Sharad was saying, on the roads. They are running there and working out, and that's the kind of thing. So what is available with you? Look at that and use that sport as a tool to develop the skills of the children in that sport. So that's your secondary school. And then the best, so then that's where when you look at talent and see, oh, this child has got potential. And that's when they can be actually moved into competitive sports. And that's where the real need for infrastructure starts coming in for that specific sport. That's where you also need specific coaches to be giving them those skills or developing those skills at that level. Pass them on. The best of them then is the elite level, where of course you need the best of the coaches to train them there. So if we can look at this, look at the structured pyramid and apply what we have in education, apply to sports, it might become easier rather than trying to say that, okay, I'm going to take up teach football in this school, and then let me see if I can build an infrastructure and everything right from the beginning. So we can reach out to more if we look at it in this way.
But do you think also, just in comparison, I know Abhinav talked about the success of the system. I think I'm also kind of a product of it as well. Do you think we're doing enough in terms of competition, also not just at the school level, but also at the college level? Do you think a spike in how often those competitions happen, the level of those competitions, and giving equal opportunity at that level as well? Do you think competitions like that will help?
See, competitions, I would look at it as matches, or more than a competition. It's an opportunity where you apply the skills, where you also learn not just how to win, but also how to lose, and how to use your mind and body, because that's where the tactics come in play. That's where friendly matches or every matches happening every weekend will really help you build those skills, which you can learn to apply what you've learned in a training class to a setup. So those kind of opportunities to compete should be present, more than having where you are going to win and lose. It's not just about or winning a medal. It's about participating and developing those skills. And yes, of course, I mean, you need to have those specific competitions at every level to help you push. That's the motivation to push you harder, to become better, and then to get to the next level. So those opportunities are there thanks to Kelo India and some other grassroots competitions, and you have school games. So you have them, though they are not enough, I would say. But it's important to have those local competitions between at a younger age to develop those skills, where you have those all of those values also coming in. Not just it's about those places where at a young age you are learning to shake hand with your opponent and wish the opponent, if you lose, that well done, you played well. Those are the small skills which needs to be developed and focused upon, rather than just talking about elite competitions where if you win, you get a medal. If you lose, don't take anything.
Yeah, absolutely. There's certainly something to take away just by being there. Of course, winning feels good, but there's a lot to learn from losing as well. Now, Sharad, next question to you from the audience. How do you think we can plan the careers of our athletes better? And I'd like, if possible, I'd like you to give us an example of how your career was planned, where you think you could have done better. And, now that you do have the avatar of a coach, how do you think you would go out planning the athletes' careers better based on the information that you now have and the experience that you have?
See, we don't decide. For me, I didn't decide that athletics is going to be my career. I feel those people who particularly want sports to be their career is something they're defining the whole sports horizon into a very small thing that, I have a target that I need to achieve something and get it all. But we don't need to use sports in such a way. I think sports came to me naturally, and it should come to as everyone. I wanted to be a IAS officer, wanted to prepare for UPSC. So I brought in my education, I did my master's and everything. So I was looking at that, something like which most of the parents wanted as a career. But my brother wanted to be a footballer himself, but look at him now, he's a lawyer. So it just doesn't go as we plan in a particular goal. We have always, I know we always have a certain destination which we have to go to. But as something which we have to decide is when you realize you give him all the options which you have in life, you just try and accept everything and try into everything, not say, okay, I'm not meant for this. When you say you're not meant for it is already a way to close it. You never know what you're meant for. Nobody knows what you're meant. You need to try out everything that is available at your plate. So in that case, I also felt that, okay, let's just play everything. And then I got athletics to me. Similarly, I think I would like to put this to other kids, like when they're training. And I see someone at 13, he's already saying that, I want to be a long jumper, I want to be a javelin thrower. I want to say, this is not your time to decide what you want to be. It's only for you till 16 that you choose everything. You see everything that is happening around you, play everything, give it a shot. You never know what you like. And when you decided that you start liking this, then you further pursue it and take a professional training into it and then go ahead with it. So that is one way I think to approach sports, particularly if you want as a career. But I'd say that sports, the better you think that, okay, I don't know, you'll have a better understanding of sports if you don't plan to make it a career. You'll have because you like it, you have all the basic looking for it. And when someone you told that, okay, just study, when you were as a child, when someone told you that you have to have this particular way and you have to study this and you'll become an engineer or a doctor, you actually did not enjoy it because you're being forced to do certain things. And similarly, if you start taking sports just for being forced to do it, it's going to be a problematic situation. And in that manner, I think that we need to just love it and just go. And me now as a coach, I think I did a mistake, and which I'm owning up, is that I want to be a coach myself particularly, but I think I would want to pass it on to the other kids without being charged for it, because that is something which I should do and give back. And maybe in the future time, I might leave this thing that I have to be paid to be a coach. I will leave it, and I'll have my own place where I will train the kids for free. And I'll also feel satisfied that, I don't want to charge for things which I'm good at and just give it to them. So at one point I needed financial aid, which the government gave me and provided me the job with. But now I think I've passed that, where I can now teach them for free. And that's my whole idea of it. So that is my next way of taking how my coaching will work.
Well, Sharad, I wish you all the best for that. And I think you have someone on this panel that might be able to help with that. But anyway, guys, I'm going to pass it on to Dhananjay. I can't believe an hour has already passed. Before I do pass it on to Dhananjay, Neelam, Abhinav, Sharad, it has really been fun. An hour has really flown by. And thank you guys for your time. Thank you to the sports panel at the India conference at Harvard for having all of us, having me especially moderate the session. I really enjoyed it, and very insightful indeed. So thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much again, Somdev, and thank you so much for just moderating. I think one of the key things that we wanted to get away from this conversation is to be able to share some insights. And our backend team has been able to create this based on whatever the panelists have shared over the last 1 hour, spread across talent sourcing, sports infrastructure, funding, culture, and grassroots development. And to all the attendees who are on the call and listening in, please feel free to take a screenshot of this. We're also going to be sharing this on our social media handles, such that you can decide where you want to contribute to sports in the country. And you can refer it on our social media channels as well. At the same time, I also want to I would be remiss if I do not talk about some of the other panels that we have right now. We have a panel on LGBTQ movement in India, as well as a one-on-one conversation about cinema with Rajkumar Hirani. That's happening right now, so you can feel free to go and check that out after this panel. Lastly, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Somdev and Sharad and Neelam and Abhinav, as well as to the entire team at Harvard. We have over 50 students across across many graduate schools who have worked together to make this a reality. But this would not be a reality without all of you moderators and panelists agreeing to actually speak with students like us. Special thanks also to Abhinav Bindra Foundation, which agreed to be an outreach partner for the conference. And then lastly, to all the attendees who joined us today. So thank you again so much. And please do feel free to join the panels that I just talked about. Thank you once again. And I hope you have a good day, afternoon, or night, wherever you are in this world. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
It was a pleasure. Yeah, thank you.